Whitney was never supposed to be this terrifying. This pink-haired, airheaded Johto gym leader was the collective crush of every 90s and 2000s Pokemon fan. She stole our hearts and eased you into another easy battle, only to send out a big pink cow and flatline each and every member of your party by rolling and rolling, leaving generations, including main characters, traumatized for life. How can this be the same girl that gets lost in her own city and thinks Pokeballs are made of apricots? One thing's for sure though, Whitney is Johto's first real skill check disguised as your childhood crush. Whitney is the normal type gym leader of Goldenrod City in the Johto region, and on paper, she's harmless. She's cheerful and looks like she describes herself as bubbly on the first day of school. She runs her gym like it's a cute community center where everyone's friends, including you. Then she sends out Miltank. Whitney became infamous not because she was evil, but because she was the first time Pokemon stopped holding your hand. Her strategy wasn't flashy, it was brutally efficient. Rollouts snowballed out of control, Attract punished you for being single, and Milk Drink erased your progress. Then after putting you through all of that, she has the nerve to cry when you win? Whitney represents the moment Pokemon shifted from adventure to accountability. And if you beat her on your first try, you're either lying or you lied. Whitney's Japanese name is Akane, which means deep red, or madder, a plant used to make red dye. It's a common, cute-sounding girl's name fitting her youthful vibe. Her English name, Whitney, likely plays on white, which is in line with her normal type theme, and wit, cleverness or sharpness, which is funny because she's the exact opposite. Her gym's pink aesthetic, Clefairy mascot, and overall vibe reinforce the idea that she's the embodiment of cute, but with a competitive streak, sharp enough to cut your team down. Ash arrives at Goldenrod with Misty and Brock and locks in, saying he's not here to eat burgers and meet girls. He's here to pound some gym leaders. Respect. They get lost in Goldenrod and Pikachu starts getting anxiety and hops away like a maniac and collides with a Clefairy. Before these two start scrapping, Ash picks up Clefairy to assert dominance, and Whitney comes out of nowhere and gives Pikachu a quick kiss. Of course, Brock takes this opportunity to injure himself so he also can have a kiss. Spoilers, it didn't work. Everyone introduces themselves and Whitney guides them through a shortcut to the Galleria, which ends up taking them further than they were before. Turns out she has an awful sense of direction. She starts fumbling around trying to not fumble around and ends up guiding them to a hot dog stand, but they end up at the Galleria. At this point, she's basically taking the wall panels at Sabrina's gym, trying to find places in her own home city. She says, and there we are, the Galleria, totally planned. Then faceplants the doors thinking they're automatic. Even her Clefairy is embarrassed. Ash is like, hey guys, I don't think she actually knows where she's going. Yeah, well done. To which Misty replies, I think she's going to the hospital. And this is why we love OG Pokemon. Whitney takes them shopping at the Galleria, and by shopping, I mean she buys a ton of things and uses the crew as slaves to carry them. They realize Clefairy went missing and decide to dump all the shopping gifts on the ethnic minority as they run off to find the subscribe button, which is what you should click if you've been enjoying the video so far. Our goal is 1,400 by the end of the month, and subscribing will double your shiny encounter rate, so why not? Team Rocket got their filthy paws on Clefairy and shoved it in a bag to deprive it of oxygen. Casual kids show stuff. Team Rocket used the hand cart to make a speedy getaway, and Pikachu outspeeds it by walking, scares Team Rocket into giving back Clefairy, and Whitney's like, wow, I don't know what I would have done if Pikachu didn't do that. Not like I'm a gym leader or anything. Clefairy's like, wait a minute, you are a gym leader, and uses Metronome to free Pikachu, and they get rid of Team Rocket. Whitney challenges Ash to a battle, but Ash says he hasn't got time as he's preparing for the gym battle. Whitney's like, yeah, that's me. Ash sees red, and they're suddenly in the gym. Whitney sends out Nidorina. I don't remember this in the games. And Ash sends out Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil burns Poison Sting with Flamethrower, so Nidorina goes for a tackle with the speed of a waddling penguin, and gets greeted with a very polite Flamethrower to one-shot it. Clefairy is up next and wags its fingers for about 3 years to use Metronome. In the meantime, Ash collects all the Hoenn badges, Sinnoh badges, and Unova, then returns 5 minutes early for the Metronome to finally do something. But it doesn't actually do anything because it's a splash attack. Cyndaquil gets mad and starts torching up the place, and Clefairy forfeits out of fear. Ash says this is way too easy, and he couldn't be more wrong as the notorious Miltank comes out. Ash is like, holy cow, what's that? Peak comedy. that's what it is. Miltank starts fast using rollout, and viewers around the world start having flashbacks of gold and silver. It smacks Cyndaquil around like a pinball and makes it eat the gym floor. Totodile comes out only to finish off Cyndaquil's gym floor leftovers as rollout is getting faster. At this point, Miltank is way too fast and Pikachu gets bopped and clocked right in the mouth too. Whitney leaves Ash on one knee like a dog and says, "Call me for a rematch anytime." Misty's like, "Yeah, no, not with that, Miltank." And they send the Pokemon straight to the center. Ash is busy talking about retiring after that smackdown, and Whitney walks in and has the nerve to pick up Pikachu and take everyone to a special place. She actually takes them to her uncle's Miltank farm, and he offers them Miltank milk. Brock comments that he always wondered how Miltank milk tastes. What milk do they even drink in the Pokemon universe? Whitney goes to get them some Miltank dairy products and finds Team Rocket getting handsy, so she crushes them. That's how it should have been the first time. Whitney makes Ash and crew brush Miltank to learn more about Miltank, or free labor. She shows them her rollout exercises, which clarifies why Ash got Spladinoed. After Pikachu sends Team Rocket off, Ash challenges Whitney to an unofficial mud wrestling match. I mean, battle, right there and then. If he wins, she'll give him an official match. Ash starts with Cyndaquil and is telling him to tank rollout hits. This is looking a lot like the first fight, but Ash is telling him that he's doing great. He returns Cyndaquil for Totodile, whose strategy is to create ditches in the ground and ride rollout Miltank like an elephant riding a ball at the circus. Pikachu is last up using agility to build up speed, and Miltank's rollout fails due to the ditches that Totodile created, interfering with its pathing and throwing it off rhythm. Pikachu hides in the ditch as Miltank is unable to stop rollout, then tosses that giant piece of steak up in the air somehow and thunderbolts it to take it out. And just like that, Miltank is down with one thunderbolt. Despite the match being unofficial, Whitney gives Ash the badge anyway so that we don't need to deal with another episode of her spamming rollout. I mean, seriously, both of those battles were exactly the same apart from the ditch. In this version, she actually had a reason to cry because that was kind of BS. In the games, however, Whitney is introduced in Gold, Silver, and Crystal with an emphasis on pain. After the Ilex Forest, you'll go to the Goldenrod radio tower and see her sitting at the front desk struggling to beat a quiz to win a radio card. When you decide to take the quiz, you realize it's basically on the level of Blaine's gym quiz machines. So you quickly ace it to get her attention, and she tells you she failed because she thought Pokeballs were made from apricots. Wow, I totally didn't misread that, ever. She's impressed that you passed, but still won't let you take her on a date, so better luck next time. You can now challenge her at the gym. When you walk in, the pinkness just blinds you. It gives you the feeling of a princess's bedroom. Heart Gold and Soul Silver added some random staircases to give it some depth, but it's the same thing at the end. When you battle Whitney, she leaves with Clefairy at level 18. It's not much of a problem, but that metronome can dish out some pretty crazy surprises. Don't get it twisted. This Clefairy is here to give you false hope, because next up is Miltank, the reason therapy exists. This thing is going to give you a problem no matter which starter you picked. It will stomp on your team if it's in a good mood. The real pain comes from Attract, which will punish your Pokemon for being male. You may as well switch out once this hits, or you're just going in for a slow, painful end. Once it starts using Rollout, brace yourself, because things get real ugly real quick. After the first two, it's going to be one-shotting members of your party, and Miltank's ridiculous base stats at this stage in the game will make sure it's outspeeding you. After you've chipped away at it and survived a Rollout rampage, that final hit will feel amazing. But you won't get to that, because it will use Milk Drink and erase all of your progress. At this point, you want to turn off your Game Boy and go for a walk. Otherwise, you might just have an aneurysm. In the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, Game Freak realized this giant cow was a nightmare to deal with, so kindly nerfed the level of Clefairy and Miltank from 18 and 20 to 17 and 19. Wait, why is that still doing no damage? When facing Miltank again, don't waste your precious turns on trying to inflict a status move or try to hide behind a ghost type, because Miltank now has a Lumberry and the Scrappy ability to stomp your ghastly mid-air. So the nerf isn't actually a nerf. After you win the battle countless attempts later, you don't get a badge because she starts crying. She needs a bit of time to calm down and reluctantly gives it to you. I feel like she deserved that after all the suffering she caused the players, including myself. You can rematch her post-game and her team is just awful. Baton Pass Girafarig, Elemental Lickilicky and Clefable, Miltank with only Body Slam as the attacking move. No no Milktank this time, and freaking Delcatty and Barrel. To be fair, most of her Pokemon have good movesets, but it's crazy that on a normal type specialist team of 6 Pokemon, there is only one normal type offensive move between them. In this battle, you're not going to struggle too much. Most of her Pokemon aren't commonly used for a very good reason, and Miltank has been outscaled this late into the game. It isn't the monster you remembered while challenging the 3rd gym, so just go headfirst versus it this time. Whitney's strongest team is in the Pokemon World Tournament, where she has got a killer moveset on each of her members. Hammer Arm, Zen Headbutt, Body Slam, Miltank with a Lychee Berry and the return of Milktank. Perisong, Wigglytuff. Taurus with Outrage, which I didn't even know that it got. Flying Gem, Acrobatics, U-Turn, Ambipom. Big Bear, Ursaring. And cheap Cosmic Power Clefable. This team can make the battle real ugly, especially when Milktank activates Lychee Berry and somehow outspeeds your team that should be faster. Saying that, this is where the main difficulty is from. Just don't underestimate the rest of her team, and you're good to go. In the Pokemon Adventures manga, Whitney comes across as a bit of a hothead. On the way to Goldenrod City, Gold gets tired and decides to camp out for the night, but much like Jigglypuff in the anime, a Smeargle gives him a little makeover. Furious after waking up, he chases the Smeargle straight into Goldenrod Tower, and he's ready to chin-check Smeargle without the use of his Pokemon. It's DJ Mary's Smeargle. Whitney says, "Who dat?" Gold angrily replies, "I'm Gold from New Bark Town, and I'm going to be a Pokemon master." And they get into an argument while the radio show is live. The ratings are up in the stars because people love drama. The head of the tower is like, "This is fantastic," and decides to make a 2-hour special of those two with some challenges. Challenge 1 is a race from Goldenrod through the National Park and to Route 37. Whitney uses a bike while Gold uses his scooter. In an instant, the race begins, and right off the bat, Whitney cheats using Miltank's rollout to hit Gold. So it's a Pokemon battle on wheels. Why does this concept sound so familiar? I do have a fresh idea though: Pokemon card games on wheels. Comment what you guys think about my completely original idea that has never been done before by Pokemon or any other anime like Yu-Gi-Oh! Whitney calls him a loser and takes the lead. Can I just point out in the manga, Miltank looks terrifying and huge. Speaking of huge, the race is put to a halt because nobody has the squirt bottle to awaken the 15-foot Sudowoodo. If only they read the walkthrough on Psypokes like we all did back in the day. Gold and Whitney both attack it with everything, to no avail, and Sudowoodo's ex-boyfriend Rhydon comes out of the bushes and starts wrestling with Miltank, then steals Whitney and runs off. Gold befriends Sudowoodo and finds out it was hiding from Rhydon by imitating a tree. He catches it, finds Rhydon, and sends out Sudowoodo right in front of Rhydon, ready to serve up a good old Falcon Punch to send Rhydon to the dirt. Whitney was saved by Gold and sustained a broken arm along the way. She's still ungrateful, calls him a punk, and promises to crush him next time, which is never. Fast forward a bit, Whitney, DJ Mary, the Radio Tower crew, as well as the Pokemon Association director go to Mahogany Gym to hopefully meet Suicune. At this point, Suicune has been going to every Johto gym and attacking the gym leaders, and Price is supposedly next. Price invites them into the gym for some tea, and they notice his ice sculptures of Pokemon like Charizard, Chansey, and Suicune, who turns to life and attacks. She hits it hard with Miltank's rollout and seemingly has the upper hand. Then she turns her head for a split second and suddenly Miltank is out cold, but somehow comes back a bit later and you're supposed to think nothing of it. Whitney gets some tips from Price about Suicune's moves and thinks she's got it all figured out. While she's masterfully calculating her next move, Suicune is doing a whole lot of nothing. Then she decides to load up a massive dynamic punch to punch a hole right through Suicune, and she cries, "I can't believe she would do that to such an innocent Pokemon." Oh wait, it was just an ice sculpture controlled by Price all along. Near the end of the arc, the Johto and Kanto gym leaders are forced to participate in a competition to weed out the villain amongst them, who's been bringing terror to the world. Whitney gets matched against Misty. Starmie is seen facing off against Miltank. Starmie's speed is way too overwhelming as it counters rollout with Rapid Spin, and manages to get off a flash to blind Miltank and a point-blank Hyper Beam to finish the job. Whitney was left speechless, watching Miltank flatlined on the battlefield floor. Later on, it's revealed that she has a crush on Bruno thanks to his well-toned personality. She anonymously sends him fan mail in the form of rage candy bars, which are his guilty pleasure that's ruining his physique. What a cute couple. Thank you everyone for watching. If you made it this far, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Also leave a comment with which Whitney you like the most. I think the ditzy one from the anime wins it for me, as those episodes felt relaxing and comedic, like the Pokemon we all fell in love with. See you all in the next one.